Welcome to the Arkansas Music Showcase, the podcast where we dive deep into the heart of Arkansas' vibrant music scene. I'm your host, Joseph Scott Elliott, and today we're thrilled to have a very special guest, Ashtyn Barbaree, an internationally touring Americana singer, songwriter, and multi-instrumentalist hailing from Fayetteville, Arkansas. Nominated for Americana Artist of the Year at the 2025 Arkansas Country Music Awards, Ashtyn's smoky, I think I get this word right, ethereal vocals and heartfelt songwriting have captivated audience from the Ozarks to Europe. Her latest album, Sent Through the Ceiling, dropped last October, and she is here to tell us all about it, plus what it means to represent Arkansas on the global stage. Stick around as we explore her musical journey, her Arkansas roots, and what's next for this rising star. But first, a word from our sponsors. Are you dreaming of building something from the ground up? Look no further than J.R. Shellnut Construction, your one-stop shop for all your construction needs. From dirt to concrete and all the way to erecting your dream building, J.R. Shellnut Construction, LLC has got you covered. We're not just builders, we're your partner in creating spaces that last. But what sets us apart? We're a faith-based company where integrity, quality, and community are at the heart of everything we do. With J.R. Shellnut Construction, you're not just getting a contractor, you're gaining a team that believes in the power of faith and hard work. So whether it's a new home, a commercial space, or something entirely unique, J.R. Shellnut Construction LLC is ready to take your project from vision to reality. Call us today or visit our website to get started. Let's build something beautiful together. J.R. Shellnut Construction LLC, building more than just structures, building trust and community. All right. Thank you, sponsors, and thank you, Ashtyn, for being here today.
Absolutely.
Excited. Drove all the way down from Fayetteville.
Yes, we sure did.
Have a good trip?
Yeah, it was nice.
Great trip.
No tornadoes?
No tornadoes, praise God.
Yeah.
Just a lot of rain and wind, huh?
Yep.
Yeah, that's really cool. So really grateful that you came and really signed on, and got a lot of respect for what you have going musically and in the industry, and just want to really dig into where you come from and what you're all about and where you're going, and talk about this right here she brought me. Look, this is super special right here. She brought me an album today. And first one artist to bring me an album. That's really cool. That's really exciting.
Nice to be a first, too.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah, it's great. So I'm going to keep this thing forever. I don't know if I'll keep it in the plastic or not, but I'm definitely going to keep it forever.
Well, you can decide later. You don't have to know right now.
Yeah. One day I might want to put it on it and turn it, spin it one time, All right. Well, I guess we'll get right into it. So, Ashtyn, let's just start from the beginning. Tell us about growing up in Fayetteville and how Arkansas shaped you as a musician.
So I grew up mostly with like a young single mom, and she was really artsy and very driven and hardworking. She was going to school full time while raising me, and we kind of grew up, like, for the time period, like, I'm pretty young, we grew up in an unconventional way where we didn't have TV or internet, and there was instruments around the house, and I could paint on the walls, and she would just cover it right back up. And it was a very, welcoming atmosphere to be creative and also get into math and science. So I feel like my mom, a lot of the music that she played on the record player and the situations that I was in, like going to concerts or various things, really contributed a lot to who I am today.
Yeah. So you grew up in a house, you said, with no TV, so y'all just really focused on each other and being creative.
And it's really cute. It's a little house. It's about 600 square feet. And, a lot of people grow up in a lot more space than that. So we're super close, and it was a really special upbringing, I think.
Yeah. So just you and your mom?
Yeah, mostly.
Yeah, that's awesome. So no brothers or sisters or anything like that?
No, I have some half and step siblings on my dad's side.
Gotcha.
But wasn't super close to them growing up, and more recently have been.
That's good. That's good. Yeah, it's good to get close. Yeah, I've got some of that too. So what instruments were you learning how to play in the house that were sitting around?
So my mom would sing to me. She would write little songs about me on guitar
with
like my name, and there would be like a verse about like each year, like as when I was 2 and 3, like kind of what I was doing that year.
Like a continual thing.
Yeah, like she would like add another line to it about me singing, and it was really sweet. But we had a piano piano in the house that it was the same one my grandmother had bought at Sears in like the 60s or 70s,
Oh, wow.
and all her kids learned on it. And then my mom took it over. So starting in second grade, I was in piano lessons, like classical training there.
Yeah.
And there was a guitar, like there was a baby Taylor, like a small guitar in the house that my mom put in an open tuning. So it was kind of approachable for me, but my hands were kind of small and not coordinated enough. Like I didn't really get into guitar till later. So it was mostly like she tried to get me into guitar, and piano was where I was drawn to. And then starting in like sixth grade, I got into flute classically. And then it wasn't until a year later that I started kind of singing and playing ukulele, which eventually brought me back to guitar.
Yeah. So would you say your mom was your biggest influence musically?
Yeah, she was a really big influence on me. And also, like, she had a close family friend named Jeffrey Clemens who would come visit. And I actually thought he was one of the members of the Beatles.
Nice.
I was like 100% convinced that he was part of the Beatles. Like when I saw that Yellow Submarine documentary, I was like, oh yeah, that's Jeffrey. Like,
looked just like him. Yeah.
That's him. And so Jeffrey was really an influence also. And even when I was a really young kid, before anyone knew I would become a musician, they would invite me and like let me be on the guest list for shows, which was really special. So I ended up like in the sound booth or in a really nice spot for some. Looking back, I'm like, I can't believe I was at a Wilco show in second grade. Like,
yeah, that's pretty cool.
That's crazy. But so my mom and her close friends contributed a lot.
That's great. I mean, what an amazing story. You know, it's just to be away from the mainstream and just be focused in on music and life and living and just surrounding your environment every day with the people that you love, and then concentrating on those relationships versus, you know, extracting yourself with, you know, distractions.
Yeah.
You know, that's really cool. I don't think I've heard of a lot of people when, you know, youthful as you are that get that privilege, get that opportunity.
Yeah, there was a lot of quality time, and I think like the connection with being outside too, you know. I mean, we it was like on an acre in South Fayetteville, and you know, I spent a lot of times building stuff with sticks in the backyard and playing in the dirt, and you know, it's like that my connection with kind of like, I don't know, the trees and natural beauty of our state, I think like has stayed with me.
Generated a lot of creativity.
Yeah.
And just you're forced to be creative because, you know, you don't have anything that's entertaining you. You have to entertain yourself, and you have to rely on, you know, the people around you. And
sure.
I mean, that was the best part, you know. I think of my youth was definitely being forced to be creative, you know, or just, I'd rather be outside being creative and exploring, you know, and smelling and tasting and touching and, you know, getting dirt or anything else. And, you know, did y'all garden and stuff like that too?
So I remember we would plant some stuff. I remember we'd make some bread, and we also would do like science experiments. Both of my parents are engineers. Yeah. And I ended up with a geology degree as well.
That's what I was So that.
Yeah. So I always just had an interest. I asked a lot of questions and was always wanted to, you know, naturally having like scientist parents, I think that happens. Yeah. And so we would do lots of experiments all the time and like mixing things or putting things in the microwave. And my mom was always open to it. So.
Yeah. Just seeing how things react and how they,
you know, experiencing, watching with your own eyes and seeing what happens when you do certain things with hot water or baking soda or random things, you know. Yeah. So,
man, what a blessing.
Yeah.
That is great. That is great. So you're also, we'll move on a little bit. So you're also Arkansas State Music Ambassador?
Yes.
And tell me more about that and what that looks like and how that came to be. And you played I know you've been doing this for a pretty good while now. You know, I mean, I read earlier that you played like 300 shows a year when you were like in high school.
Yes. When I got started, you know, so I went to college at 16, and when I was in college, I was doing 300 shows a year while getting a geology degree.
Wow.
And it was wild. But so how the Arkansas Music Ambassador thing came up is Arkansas State Tourism. They had nominations kind of open publicly throughout the state. And essentially, it's kind of like knowing that the state of Arkansas has my back, and they are proud of me and my musical creations representing our state. So it's kind of it's a beautiful thing to have your home state represent you.
So being, you're an ambassador. So when you travel the world and when you go, when you go to the UK or wherever you travel, you say, I'm representing Arkansas.
Yes. And, I think part of it is a naturally really good fit because I do like tell people about Fayetteville and Northwest Arkansas and just Arkansas as a whole when I travel. So it's a really natural thing because I'm already really enthusiastic and genuinely in love with the beauty of our state.
Yeah.
And so it makes a lot of sense.
What's your favorite place to create? Like in the Ozarks, or you have like a spot that you go to?
So this is kind of funny, but like one of the places that I've written the most songs there is a kind of high ceiling living room at my mom's house, and it's wood floors, and then it's like wood paneling on the walls with like a vaulted ceiling, and so it's very kind of echoey.
Creates a lot of reverb.
Yes. And I have written more songs in that room than anywhere else.
So it's not outside, it's inside at your mom's house and the high ceilings and the walls.
Yeah, I think part of it is it's like at my mom's house, there's lots of plants and a very like warm, welcoming environment. And so that room's been great. I also love like sitting outside, like underneath it, if it's a beautiful day, sitting under a tree, like finding some nice moss or something and just hanging out outside.
Yeah. With it being your mom's house, there's just a comfort level there that you can't get anywhere else,
Yeah.
And is it the same house that you grew up in?
So that's a different one.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, still your mom's house.
Yes.
Gotcha.
True.
Gotcha. That's really cool. So, so how do you think that you've evolved as a musician from, say, your beginning there? So you have you recorded in Nashville at the Butcher Shop.
Yep.
For your first, was it EP?
It was an EP.
It was EP, and then you've went on to record this album that dropped in October, Sent Through the Ceiling, and you did that here in Arkansas at Haxton Road Studio and then you used some Arkansas musicians for that.
Yes, I did.
So like starting like, did you have the EP when you were in college, or did you just play and travel and write songs and then didn't do an EP and then what's your evolution?
So I graduated college in 2017 and I recorded an EP that December.
Gotcha.
And my close family friend Jeffrey, who I was talking about earlier, who I thought was a part of the Beatles, he actually helped arrange my very first EP recording session in Nashville. So he's always been really kind and like kind of nurtured me musically by encouraging me with like books to read and documentaries and albums to listen to, even from a very young age. Like this, you need to listen to this Neil Young album or the White Stripes. Like I'm in elementary school and I'm getting like kind of music homework, Yeah. So that first recording experience in Nashville, Jeffrey set up, and it was with David Ferguson producing, who worked with Johnny Cash for the last bit. He was kind of Rick Rubin's right-hand man for a lot of stuff, which was cool. But that session was amazing. And I went back to Nashville in 2020 to make another full-length record at the Studio Nashville. And with both of those experiences, I learned so much watching all these professionals, even just like working with the first time David Ferguson, we call him Fergie, as a producer, and then the second time Jeffrey and I co-producing, I was able to kind of watch like what it means to have that role. So some of that is like when you present a song that you're about to record, having some ideas on what you want it to sound like what instruments you're planning, what's the tone of the drums that you're wanting, and sometimes having reference tracks. So like I watched on that second album, Jeffrey would come in and be like, hey, even though this song sounds nothing like Wrecking Ball by Emmylou Harris, let's go for the production style of that. Like the vocals are really high in the mix. We've got some kind of minimal qualities of these other instruments, and like explaining to the engineer what you want so you get what you want. And like after seeing how those professional sessions were ran in Nashville, I felt like equipped enough and had enough drive on this new album and ideas for exactly what I wanted that I was like, decided I was going to be able to produce it myself and communicate clearly with everyone and it's all because of my experiences in Nashville that allowed me to do that.
So what was the second session in Nashville? What came of that?
So I recorded my second album was called Better Luck Next Time.
Yeah.
I recorded it in 2020 and
Yeah.
it came out 2022. And
Gotcha.
that one was great. That was the one that got me first eligible for the Arkansas Country Music Awards in 2023.
Yeah.
And it was nice. It had some like charting in the UK and Netherlands, which was cool. And
Yeah.
it's part of the story. You know, I think I started writing and recording so young that you can notice a lot of evolution in my voice and songwriting and instrumentation. Sure. And it's really cool to now be on my third kind of recorded piece of work. And like, this feels like me.
So basically it's your third release, but your second full-length album.
Yes.
Now, did you release each on your album? A lot of people do like the waterfall thing where they release one every 6 weeks.
Oh, the singles, yes.
Yeah. Did you do that on this album?
Yes, I did 3 singles off of this, and the single that kind of led the way was Copenhagen. Off this.
Yeah, tell me more about that. So that was from your time in the Netherlands.
So that Copenhagen's in Denmark.
I'm sorry, I've been said
totally fine. Yeah. You know, it's like these aren't places we Arkansans typically go to regularly.
So, but that was inspired by Denmark, Copenhagen, Denmark.
Yes. So
how did that come about?
Okay, so I was actually in 2018. I was in Copenhagen on my first European tour. There's an organization in Northwest Arkansas called the House of Songs, and then with the Walton family, they helped support my first tour, which was really sweet. They connected me with some songwriters there, so I was able to like collaborate and get intertwined with their scene some, which was great. But whenever I was there, one of my good friends from Arkansas, just to make me smile, got on a plane and flew over to Denmark, got in a taxi. All he had was a backpack, and he showed up at one of my shows just to make me smile. Wow. And we ended up falling in love in Copenhagen.
Wow.
So that's what that song's about. And a lot of it has like the whole feeling of when you're with someone you love, it feels like summertime, even if you're in a Scandinavian winter.
Right. Super cool.
So it's a really special personal song. Yeah. And he recorded harmonies on that single, too.
Oh, he did? So he was an artist as well? And he's singing harmonies?
He's in more in like software engineering, computer science world right now. But when we met, he was like fronting a alternative rock band.
Yeah.
So,
but he got to be on the song.
Yes, I had him do harmonies on this.
That's super special.
Yes, it is special.
Now from a word from our co-sponsor, Red's Tree Service. Hey there, Central Arkansas. Tired of that unsightly dead tree in your yard? You're not alone. Give us a shout for a free quote. We're your friendly, knowledgeable team, here to guide you on all things tree care. We're licensed, insured, and have been enhancing the beauty of your community since 1976. With decades of experience and the best equipment, no job is too big or small for us. And here's a special thanks to our veterans. Get 10% off any quote. Call us today at 501-516-4204 for pristine tree care that stood the test of time. Red's Tree Service. That's an amazing story.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't.
And I absolutely love Copenhagen. Like they have a lot of like cultural norms that are amazing, that are all about like getting your friends and family together to share like fresh baked cookies, or just quality time is a focus, you know.
Yeah.
The whole idea of being cozy and doing handmade crafts, and I really relate to that, I think, a lot because of my upbringing, you know. It's like I love the idea of quality time and blankets and candles.
Yeah.
You know, I'm all in.
Yeah, let's just take it easy and do some creative things and relax and be comfortable.
Absolutely.
That's really neat. So, I mean, from there, like, where did you, so like coming out of your second into this third one, what was your ideas about where you wanted to go and how you wanted to get there? And I mean, you wrote your songs first and then said, okay, I'm going to release these 3, or maybe, or just kind of
for this new record.
Yeah.
So it was kind of interesting. What I've naturally, like, writing has always been a very therapeutic place for me. Like, my songs are very personal, and I've really put myself out there, so you can probably tell that a lot of it is very therapeutic.
Yeah.
But I guess it was in 2023, I did like a writing residency and was really kind of diving into songwriting and also doing a lot of co-writing. And I did a special project that fall where it was a project I did through an organization called Cash out of Springdale, Arkansas. But the whole project was around like taking a big creative risk.
Yeah.
So what I decided to do was like I was classically trained on piano, but had never written original music on piano. It had always been like a separate place in my mind. Like I could read sheet music, but I don't know how to play an original song on it. So what I decided to do for this special fall project with Cash was write an entire show that was all written on piano with my voice. And a lot of those songs ended up being on this album. Like I noticed a big shift, like sound-wise. I feel like my vocal tone, I don't know if it's like actual posture because you're playing piano and your shoulders are back or exactly, but also content-wise, I was diving into like really emotional things that had happened in my young life, but things that really had moved me and impacted me in a huge way. And I was just creating all these really personal songs on piano, and that kind of led to this album.
Yeah, that's really cool. So they started off as a project for something else, and then it evolved, and then you took on a new challenge of writing on the piano, and then it actually evolved into the songs coming onto the album.
Yes, and it kind of overlapped. Like this album was partially funded through a program through Mid-America Arts Alliance called Artist 360. And while I was writing these songs on piano for this one project, I found out that I was chosen to be one of the recipients of this grant program. And so it was kind of like the thing that it was a dream I wanted to do, to make a record in Arkansas with all Arkansan people and try it out. And then the timing and everything was just amazing. You know, I'm really thankful that
it fell into place.
Yes, everything fell into place, and that kind of allowed me to make this dream project come to life.
That's really cool. Well, it's a great album. I've listened to it and think it's awesome. So, we talked about that. And we've talked about Copenhagen. I got all these list of questions here, you know. So what's it like to play across the world, you know, like to travel? What's the communication like to be in other places and to navigate those situations?
Yeah, sure. So I think one thing you'd probably get a kick out of is like, I definitely have thrown some contracts into Google Translate. You know, and I'm hoping for the best on some of these. You know, there's a word that's used for a lot of European shows that's fee. Mm-hmm. Like when you talk about payment for a show, they say the word fee, which fee is a concerning word to hear.
Yeah.
You know, around here. That
yeah. I mean,
you're paying.
Yeah, you're costing.
So it's kind of funny. It's been interesting to kind of like navigate that. And the shows over there are amazing. You know, I think in general, a lot of the venues are a little bit smaller than venues here. Like when you think of like ticketed shows, there's a lot more like 100 to 150 person venues. And they have bigger theaters as well, but there's a really big push for kind of like intimate listening, like being there with intention to actually listen. You're not on your phone. You're sitting at a cute little table with Aperol Spritz and a candle, and you're here to learn from the artist and hear about their stories and things like that. So it's really magic, you know.
What about navigating to the clubs from the airports, like being in the
hilarious.
streets? Yeah.
You know, I mean, my first time, when I first booked shows over there, even though I had the support from the House of Songs, I was the one who emailed all the venues. And my first time, you know, like if you want to book a show, you know how to book shows. You know, you find their email address and tell them when you're coming through and send them some information. But when I was first looking at some of these venue websites that were like Swedish and Danish and German, sometimes I was like, I don't even know which one of these is an email address. Like now I recognize it. Yeah. But at first there was definitely some kind of guessing and seeing how things would go. And I was just kind of cold emailing these places in English, being like, here's a live video. I'd love to play at your venue. And to my surprise, they started responding. And then I started kind of booking shows around it. And, this will be my sixth time over there.
That's awesome.
So every time I go over, it gets a little smoother. My first quite a few trips, I wasn't old enough to rent a car.
Yeah.
So
somebody had to be with you.
Well, yeah. So we were like doing planes, trains, and buses with, carry-on bag and a guitar and bass, and you're running on cobblestone streets and it's raining, my bandmates really went through it on those first couple.
So the plane lands, and you've got to make it to this venue. Do you use Google Maps?
I use Apple Maps usually.
Yeah, so that's still pretty good.
Yeah, Apple Maps works.
You're able to understand. You really just follow the blue line.
Yeah, it'll just be like, instead of turning left on Main Street, it'll be like, turn left on Snæfellsnesvika. And you're like, okay.
Yeah.
On it.
Just a different terminology, but the same thing.
Yeah, and you notice, it definitely, some of the first times I was over there, it was interesting because even on a bus, I think sometimes the language barrier can be so thick that I remember being on the bus the first time in Denmark, and we're watching like for the upcoming train stops, and we would listen and we would look at the list of stops, and we're like, we can't tell which of this, even like listening and looking, we were like, we don't know which one we're at. So it definitely took a little bit of time to kind of get acclimated.
So like you're carrying a translator like on your phone everywhere with you? Or
in a lot of the major cities, like people do speak English. I think it's really respectful to know a couple like appropriate, like, be kind. But if you don't know the language, there are ways to show that you're being nice, like smiling and like there's ways to show and be kind. I always try to like know a couple phrases enough to be respectful.
Yeah.
But a lot of people do speak English.
Yeah. So everybody seemed nice. You got a lot of help.
Yes, it was really sweet. And they there's really like a pretty big like Americana folk country scene in Northern Europe and UK. Really like I was in the Netherlands last March, and there was a Dutch guy that was up singing, and he was singing about Memphis and Tulsa and wearing a cowboy hat and a belt buckle. And I was like, what is happening right now? Because these aren't places that he had been to, but they just, what we're doing over here meshes real well. There's been a pretty decent handful of Arkansas musicians hit some of the same venues I am, and Netherlands, Denmark, Sweden, UK, it's a special place over there.
Yeah, that's really cool. I'd love to visit that one day.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Did you get to play with a lot of other musicians from there? Did like openers or closers or open up for people? Or
some, there's in Copenhagen, they have a really like awesome like original songwriter scene. And so they have these places like the Copenhagen Listening Room where all the songwriters come together every Sunday night, and they'll do like a feature slot for one artist to do like a 30-minute set. But besides that, all the songwriters are always out there, and they'll do a song or two, and you really get to like get pretty intertwined with their scene and get to hear what they're working on and kind of hear how the phrasing is different. A lot of their songs they write in English and sometimes in native languages as well. But it's cool. And last year in March, when I was over in the Netherlands, I did a tour with a Dutch band called Kentucky Snake Oil.
Of course.
So they do kind of bluegrass American roots music.
Yeah.
And they're all Dutch. And it was lovely. We were singing like Emmylou Harris and Johnny Cash and June Carter together. We did all sorts of duets, and it was so sweet. Like they were like, "Oh, have you heard of this one?" I'm like, "Yeah."
So you were able to jump right in?
Yeah, and they were cool. They their banjo player had actually learned banjo from a guy in Northwest Arkansas, Clark Bueling, who had taught a workshop in Germany. And I was like, this is crazy.
What are the chances?
It's a small world. You know?
It's a beautiful thing. And I talked about this with Cliff and Susan when they were here. It's a beautiful thing how music can bridge gaps.
It can. It really can.
You're all the way across the sea. You're in a different country, and you're singing these songs that you both know. Sure. You may speak a different language.
Yeah.
But everybody knows the words to these songs. They know the chords. They know the rhythm.
Yes.
And it just bridges that gap.
Yeah.
You're able to communicate through the music.
It really is a universal language. And I think even like whenever I've been to some concerts and things where even there's people singing in a language that I don't understand, and it still moves me. and there's beauty in it, and also seeing kind of like the crowd's interaction and stuff like that. And, afterwards looking up what their songs were about. Like I saw this concert in Denmark by Paul Krebs, and he's this amazing songwriter, but they were all in Danish. And it was just like, there was a really sweet audience member beside me who was kind of like translating the songs for me.
Oh, that's neat.
But they were so kind, and just, you could just tell it was just beautiful music and creating such a beautiful atmosphere,
So I can't imagine being at a show where they're singing in a different language, and then you still feel.
Yeah, I felt
What
it.
they're still.
I still felt it. It still moved me.
Yeah. That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, and
I mean,
it's like,
plus to have somebody there translate a little bit for you.
yeah, they would be like, "Hey, this one's about this," I'd be like, "Oh, thank you,"
So did you create a lot of friendships in your travels? And,
Yeah,
and there's a
I
lot
feel like I've met some really nice musicians, especially like there's a girl who I met at a show in Sweden, and now she's in the UK, and I'll see her in a week from now.
when you go through, you could see her again. So have any of those musicians came over to play shows with you here?
I would like to make that happen. Sometimes it's tricky, I think, like with visas and stuff like that to come to the US. But they're definitely like the House of Songs will bring sometimes artists from UK and Australia and Netherlands to do like writing in Northwest Arkansas. And I think there's like, similar to some other deals, like if they're coming over and writing and doing kind of like promotional things. Visas are different, but I think but I think that's one of the reasons why we don't see more of that is it's easier for us to go over there instead of them coming here like
that's
legally.
What I was going to ask.
But I would love to see, people be open to more of those artists coming over here, because I think y'all would love it.
Yeah, I think it'd be really cool.
And I'll work on figuring that out.
It should be. Like immigration is a huge issue these days, but like. It should be if they're coming for a purpose. If you're coming for a purpose, like you're going there for a purpose, like you state your purpose, you're going there. This is what I'm going to do, and they make it easy and convenient for you to come over and do that. It should be reciprocal. Yeah, and
it's really beautiful to experience their musical creations in a snippet of the culture from these other places, I mean, even without us going there, experiencing some of the stories and music from these other places, I think makes us all better people,
Yeah. So like, what's the most interesting like instrument that you've seen people play at shows that we don't have, that somebody wouldn't play here? I know it's a kind of an off the wall question, but like,
I'm trying to think. I mean, I feel like probably something that I think you would think was really interesting that I saw, but this was in Fayetteville. But someone had a bow, like from a violin or something, and they were playing a saw, like a hand saw.
Oh, I've seen that before, yeah.
And that's very interesting to me.
Yeah. But no instrument that you've never seen before.
I I was seeing a lot of like, things we've seen like guitar and pedal steel and piano.
It was just repetition of what we do here, basically.
Yeah. I mean, I know in like some parts of Asia or the Middle East, they have some instruments that we definitely aren't familiar with. But a lot of the things I was seeing in, at least at the shows I was going to and part of, it was familiar.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just that's even more the comfort level, just seeing the things that you're familiar with.
Yeah.
It's awesome. So, let's see. I want to do a little thing where you do like quick answers.
Okay.
You okay with that?
Yeah,
you reread that part of it? Okay, sorry. So, favorite spot for inspiration, which you already told me was your mom's living.
Oh yeah, I do love my mom's living room.
Your mom's living room.
If no one's there, that's even better.
One instrument you wish you could master.
I would love to master the piano on a level where it, like for my original music, that it would just be amazing.
Yeah.
I would love that.
So you want to take the idea of what came out of this album and just kind of dig deeper into that, using the piano.
There's
pianos
really
and bass.
a big difference between reading sheet music and creating original material on a piano, and I would love to kind of break that barrier and do some more complicated piano work.
When I sent all my stuff to Georgia to get recorded, the guy who did it for me at Tune Designer, he started everything on the organ as organ pads.
Okay.
He took it to the base level of an organ pad and then built everything from there.
Interesting.
I thought, so now we've got an organ player in the band. It's just, that's like a really neat concept, like starting there, bass notes, carried notes,
Sure.
and then just, and building off that. And I thought, man, I need to do that as I go forward,
Sure.
because it worked out really well. I wrote all these songs on the guitar, but, I could see where that piano bass and that organ bass
Sure.
is really a good solid root
Foundation
to build off of, to add all the other instruments onto.
Yeah, I think with piano, you don't have like kind of like when I hold a guitar in standard tuning, I have like limitations on, there are certain chords I'm prone to go to. And when I sit down at the piano, that doesn't happen to me. And I think it makes me write more interesting melodies.
Yeah, I think you can carry more harmony. You can go seventh, ninth. You can do the things that like you said, you're limited on the guitar. Or prone to, not really limited,
yeah.
but I know that I am. But when I hear the piano play the fifth, the seventh, or the ninth on top of it, I'm like, okay, what if I'd have heard it that way? Then what direction would I have gone from there? That's a really cool concept. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So what's your dream collaboration, living or legendary?
That's so tricky. There's an Arkansas songwriter named Erin Enderlin who's amazing. I'm so amazed with her work.
Yes.
Collaborating with her would be a dream. There's another artist named Paul McDonald who writes beautiful songs, and I would love to collaborate. There's many people that are kind of on my list. Melody Walker out in Nashville.
Yeah.
Her songwriting is insane. I'm so impressed with her.
It seems like Erin's name gets brought up we've only done 3 of these.
Yeah.
And she gets brought up because she's such a legend. Yeah.
She is.
Yeah.
And I think the way she represents Arkansas, kind of in the country Americana scene is
She
just
got a big
unreal.
tour coming up this year.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's really cool what she's doing. Yeah.
She's got the whole state's behind her. So
Yeah,
we're
really,
ready.
Really,
We
yeah,
love her.
yeah, we love her. I was like, okay, collaborate with Ashtyn and come on the podcast, Erin, for the second time. We're gonna keep pushing. All right, so that's really cool. Yeah, Erin, it would be great to work with. she's just amazing. All right, so what's always in your tour bag?
Okay, so I always will have either a portable espresso machine or instant espresso in my tour bag, no matter what, because I love
I did not see that coming. That's greatness.
I love coffee.
Really?
Yeah, I do.
You love coffee like I love sweet tea.
Perhaps
yeah. That's all. How does that work out?
Well, if you have like a portable, any type of electronic that you have, if you're abroad, you do need like a little adapter. And I do travel very light.
Oh, because the plugs are different?
Yeah, the plugs are different.
Yeah.
So you got to have an adapter, and also the machine needs to be dual voltage. So typically I have the espresso machine. If I'm around the US anywhere, I have a little small espresso machine in my carry-on bag. But when I'm abroad, I usually have a little bit of like instant espresso. But you also can find great coffee, even like 7-Eleven over there is another world.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like you can go into 7-Eleven and get like a salmon edamame grain bowl and like fresh baked bread and espresso. Like it's crazy.
What on earth?
So you can always hit those up for some espresso.
Man, we need more of that here.
Yeah,
healthier options.
Bring some Scandinavian 7-Elevens to Arkansas.
Make America healthy. Make America healthy again. That's what we need.
We need some edamame.
We need some edamame. Yeah, that's good stuff. Some avocado toast and all that good stuff. All right, so do you eat tacos?
I do eat tacos.
All right, so what's the best taco joint in Fayetteville?
So Los Bobos is amazing. I really like their al pastor tacos and the green salsa.
Man, green salsa is the best. The tomatillo style, man,
It is real good.
It's really good.
Yeah, that's a great spot. Their hours are kind of crazy, and parking on Dixon is like not ideal. But if I ever have a show on Dixon, I'm trying to go there after.
You're gonna get some tacos from there. Yeah, tacos after a show was always, or late night. Just anywhere with hitting the taco stand up was always best. I spent a lot of time in Fort Worth and in Dallas, and at the end of the night, you got to find some tacos. And a lot of time there was always somebody sitting right outside the door, and in that area doing it. So that's great.
Have you heard of Carla Lee from Michelle Phillips and Company Realtors? She's your go-to real estate agent if you're looking for your perfect home or investment property across Central Arkansas. With 4 convenient locations in Benton, Sherwood, Cabot, and Searcy, Carla specializes in making your real estate journey as smooth and stress-free as possible. Whether you're a first-time buyer stepping into the market, looking to upgrade your dream home, or need to sell your property, Carla's here to guide you. With her deep roots in Benton and now living in Cabot, she brings a wealth of knowledge to the table. For honest advice, give Carla a call at 501-650-6761 or shoot an email to carlaleerealtor@gmail.com. That's Carla Lee, KarlaLee, realtor@gmail.com. Let Carla help you find your dream home today.
All right. So what's next? I know that you got a show tomorrow in Nashville, and then you head for the UK.
So I have a show tomorrow in Nashville. I have a show in Fayetteville Friday, and then I'm headed to the UK Sunday. I'll be over there. It'll be about a month. I have some stuff in UK, Ireland, and a show in the Netherlands. And then when I get back, I'm doing a little mini tour with an artist named Molly Healy, who's unbelievable. She's based out of Missouri. But we're going to do a couple shows, and then I'll be at Fresh Grass Festival in Northwest Arkansas. And I've got a lot of stuff coming up. So it's all on my website, ashtynbarbaree.com/tour. I also keep everything on Spotify and try to post about it on Instagram.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So mainly your website.
Yep.
You point people there, and then of course everybody can listen to your music on Spotify.
Yes, anywhere you listen to music, if it's like
every streaming platform.
Yeah, Deezer, Pandora, like any of them.
Do you have like a YouTube channel that you make content for?
I do. I have a nice collection of some nice live music videos on YouTube, and then you can also listen to all 3 of the records that I've made on YouTube as well. I think there's like 130 things you could watch.
Oh, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You got a lot of content
I'm working on
there.
more. I'm working on some more on there.
Do you make it a point to make content like as you go with, like wherever you're at? Like, yeah.
I try my best to. I'm sure you've heard from other musicians and knowing yourself too. Like right now, being a musician in the music scene, we got to wear a lot of hats.
That's right.
And so sometimes I'm better at wearing all the hats than others. But I do try to create and I think that the easiest way for me to think about it with a busy schedule is instead of thinking about creating, think about documenting, because it's really like the things that are going on, like us being here talking now today. That's really interesting, and it's showing kind of part of the day. And I just setting aside the time to document what's happening.
Yeah, that's really cool. I mean, I think that's a good way to look at it. And versus creating content, you're really just documenting what you do.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's a great way to look at it.
Yeah, and I mean, sometimes it's creating if it's like me singing one of my songs on my phone for a second, but I think documenting is like my new mindset.
I think that's a really good mindset. I like that. I'll take that. I'm going to write that down, document. So you're independent, right?
Yes, I do. I have, for this last record, I worked with a radio promoter and also a publicist, but I am independent.
Yeah. So there's no label supporting you.
I pretended to be a label for this record.
So what you do, is all you. You've brought other people in to help you and collaborate, help you produce, just not produce, but to do different things for you. But all in all, it's on your shoulders.
Yes,
you're carrying this ride.
It is.
And so I just want to encourage people to support you because you're out here working hard.
Yeah.
And really putting in the time and the effort to make not just to spread the love that's in your heart and the music that's in you for people to hear that, understand it, and the things that you care about the most. I think it's really amazing what you're doing.
Thank you.
Is there anything else you want to promote or talk about while we're here?
Well, I in April I'm gonna have 6 new songs that I wrote on that are gonna air on an NPR podcast for Arts and Letters. So that's based out of Little Rock, but it airs on quite a few stations definitely. Yeah. But keep an eye out in April. 6 new songs on a podcast. You've never heard any of them.
So you're gonna go on a podcast?
No, they're already. I recorded them, but they're on the. They're gonna air on the podcast.
They're gonna air on the podcast. Yes. Are you gonna be there as they air and have it like a listening party? Or
maybe we should. That's a good idea.
Yeah, so it's just a podcast that features new music, or
so what the podcast is? It's based out of Little Rock. Y'all should hang out, grab some coffee or something, because they support local music just like you.
Yeah.
But what they do is they interview kind of book authors. They'll take a book and they'll assign kind of a local musician, Arkansas-based musician, to write 6 songs about the book, like a mix of plot and kind of bigger themes.
Yeah.
And then while they're interviewing the author about the book, the songs are kind of worked into the story. It's really cool.
What?
But I've done quite a few
neat.
projects for them. And I just love it. It's a really fun exercise. And there's been some real heavy books and some real lighthearted books. And I'm always excited to see what book I'll get next.
So you read the book.
Yeah.
And you write songs from what you read.
Yes.
Do they
and
give
one
you
of them
section?
made it on here.
Did it really?
Yes. So Reckless Nights, that song was inspired by one of the books for this podcast called Sandy and Wayne.
Yeah.
And there was a lead inspector and a dirt foreman during the construction of the Bobby Hopper Tunnel who fell in love. And that song was about like construction scene romance.
Yeah.
So some of my close friends and family know that in the chorus. Like my mom was dying when she heard like that song was making it on the record because it's so like construction scene romance stuff.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that project's really fun, and
That is a really neat project.
yes, I love it.
Yeah.
And it's a really unique podcast. I haven't heard anyone do something quite like what they do.
I've never heard of anything like it. I'm gonna have to check it out and dig deeper into it and reach out and say hello and that is really neat that you could. Do they direct you like what parts they want the song from, or are you freedom?
It's freedom, you know. And I think I'm sure if I with one of them had just totally gone off and didn't write anything close to the book at all, I would have been given some type of guidelines or something. But so far, what's been natural for me is doing a mix of some songs will be pretty closely related to the plot, like almost not usable for me personally. You know, everything I write, I have to pull from my own experiences, whether it was like a situation that I experienced myself or kind of secondhand or, you know, like things that I've witnessed through my friends or family's eyes or like perspectives as well.
Yeah.
But I also try to write some where the themes are more general and they cover kind of the book. Yeah. But also me more. Yeah. So it's a mix.
It's a mix. So you take the book, you incorporate your experiences with what you can relate to in the book, and then that's what comes out.
Yeah, and then some that are like for that Sandy and Wayne, you know, Reckless Nights was one that was more, you know, it was a little more general. It's still very construction, but there was one song I wrote for that called Arkansas Highway, and it was just like so many details from the book, like where they were meeting, like the West Fork City lights, you know, just like all this stuff. It was just, it made me laugh, you know. I had a blast writing these.
That's got to make the writer of the book just really like to have these songs written from their book, you know, like they've got to be just like exuberant about it, you know, like, I mean, I would be just, I think I'm just.
Yeah, they've been really supportive. You know, there was one book that there was a sadder project I did a couple years ago for a book called A Hospice Doctor's Widow. And I know the author of that did reach out and was very kind and complimentary of the work that I created because it was a very touchy subject. It could be kind of hard to write some songs about, but I think we mutually had a lot of respect during that.
You find it challenging?
You know, I like a little challenge. Some of these have been challenging to write about, you know, like some of these books have been.
I mean, you're writing about death, love, and everything in between. I mean, and I can imagine, you know, you're taking these stories and you have to incorporate them into songs and you have to put them to music. And I mean, it's like if it's like too dark of a subject, then you want to, you know, put a brighter tone to it, but also, you know, really dive into the actual content of the book. And then sometimes it's a little too bright and you might want to darken it down. And
and these are a lot of like sensitive topics. So I had to be, I think like the way that I made it through that was just being as authentic as I could be. If that meant going a little darker on something, it's like, you know, maybe this isn't a good show to play at a pizza restaurant, but it exists and it carries weight and emotion to it.
It's real.
Yeah,
and
it's real.
It's, you know, it's a thing that exists and you get the chance to, I think it really, you know, it shows your depth as a writer and, you know, the complexity of that situation would just be really something that, you know, would help you just extend out from, you know, like, you know, just to be able to have that challenge, to have to reach deep inside and say, okay, where are they coming from? Why are they writing this? Let me try to touch on, you know, and to find approval there would, you know, I don't feel like that would be easy, you know, like within yourself and saying, okay, is this good enough for them for the book? Sure. And then are they going to like it? And is it going to be material that's worthy of being on this radio or podcast
Sure.
station, you know, like I could imagine like how there's a lot more there than just say, hey, I'm sitting down, I'm going to write about me and my boyfriend, you know, in Copenhagen. I mean, you've got all the pieces there, you know, but now you have to take all these other pieces and you have to make all these other considerations to make that happen.
I mean, have you ever written from like a writing prompt for fun?
Never.
So you should try it sometime because it's kind of like I try to make myself uncomfortable. Like I try to agree to things and push myself out of my comfort zone constantly to just become stronger as a songwriter, a performing artist. Like, you know, there's things I've agreed to. I'm like, this is going to be a stretch, but I can do it. I'm just going to have to push myself. And sometimes the writing prompts, it can be a really interesting exercise and you might love it. You might hate it.
Right.
But you should try it.
I should try that.
Like just to see. I can send you like
anybody should try that. That's out there that's listening.
I'll send you one of my favorite ones.
Okay. All right. I'll take that challenge.
It's like a little exercise and like just for fun, you could try it sometime. And then you might be like, okay, I'm never doing this again. But who knows?
That's amazing. So that airs, when does that air? Do you have it?
It's going to be in April.
It's going to be in April. So no definite date, but it's coming out in April. So
Yes.
people just need to look for it. 6 new songs.
Yeah.
And it's an NPR podcast.
Yes, it's called Arts and Letters.
Arts and Letters. All right. Everybody check that out. All right. So just to kind of wrap this up, you know, you've had a lot of success and you've written a lot of music so far at a young age. And what is your number one piece of advice to people, to young artists out there that are striving to create? And what is your like, not just book, but just to do the thing? What is your number one piece of advice?
I think like you need to be ready and like open to working really hard and putting yourself out there. You know, there's a lot of people out there that are doing this, and if you really want to do it, you've got to put yourself out there. And you're going to get rejected, you're going to get people that say no, and you just have to power through. And also, I think like finding a local community, or even I know some people have found like some music communities online through Facebook groups. Even, you know, there's other people that are going through the same stages of things as you are, and there's so much to learn. And there's a lot of free resources to learn. You know, like I have so many like podcasts and books and classes I've taken, and I'm always trying to grow and get better. You know, it's like, you know, we have to be open to learning. And keep growing. Yeah,
you have to be. So we're open to rejection because that's part of it. There's going to be more no's than there's yeses in the majority of people's situations.
Yeah, I mean, I
can't be discouraged though.
Yeah, I mean, I was in this Mid-America Arts program and they talked about rejection goals, and I have fully taken that on. Like, I want to be putting myself out there enough where I'm getting rejections. Like today I got a rejection, and that's okay because I'm putting myself out there so much that there are some people saying no, and that means that I'm pushing it. You know, and that's, you know, I think it's,
and that's okay. You can't say yes if you don't ask.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, so, you know, that kind of goes through life itself. You know, when you want to be independent and you want to be creative and you want to have these things that flow from you, you have to be prepared for people to not understand them and to not want to be involved with them. And then eventually you will find that right.
Yeah, we all have, there's like, you're not going to be for everybody. None of us are going to be for everybody.
Right.
And it just takes time to find your people, you know, they're out there.
Yeah,
you know?
they're out
it's
there.
Just maybe they're in Sweden.
Yeah, maybe you got to travel halfway around the world, but they're there.
Yeah, you know, and it's like, I think like, you know, I saw something this morning too. There's a guy who's great. His name's Bacon Bits. He does these like educational deals, but he was saying like, you know, some people just don't understand you, and that's okay.
Yeah.
You know, like just talking about artists in general, you know, it's like someone will.
Yeah.
Everyone doesn't have to.
Yeah. I mean, you know, we want the approval of people, but at the end of the day, if you're an artist and you're a creator, it's about what your art and your creation and just being true to yourself.
Yeah, being true to yourself is huge. You know, it's like, I don't think it's sustainable if you're not true to yourself.
Yeah.
You can feel it. You know, if someone's singing and they don't mean what they say, like I can feel that.
Yeah.
So being true to yourself's huge. I mean, that goes to like advice for for people getting started too,
Yeah.
of all ages. It's like
Write about real things.
yeah, and write from your heart and
Yeah.
say things that you mean.
Yeah.
You know, if you don't mean it, there's gonna be some of us out there like, I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen a lot of artists that write and they've never experienced any of the things that they write about, and
Yeah, and
it's
that's hard. And I think part of that too is like, if you're not writing about something that you feel connected to, you're gonna say weird things about it that don't feel right to people who have experienced it.
right.
So
Write about what you experience.
yes.
I mean, and be okay with putting yourself out there.
Yeah.
A lot of people relate to tough situations,
It's
spiritual things, religious things, which is a big part of what I do. And, and that's not for everybody, but that's who I am and that's how I feel. And that's my advice is like, you really just got to write about what you care about.
It's true.
Be a nice person, be willing to put yourself out there and take the risk and write about true stories that you've been through, that you've experienced and write about things that other people have created, like the books that you're writing out of,
that's fun. Yeah, the writing prompts are fun.
Yeah. I mean, but watch a movie, listen to a sermon, read a billboard, it can
Walk into your kitchen, we can get inspired.
I mean, one of my favorite songs is like by Surfaces, and it's about making an omelet. You know what I mean? Like, gotta keep my sunny side up, so they can see, and it's just about putting pico in your omelet, it's so simple.
Yeah.
But it's so deep at the same time, clicking spoons or whatever, it's like, it doesn't have to be complicated, but people have to put the effort, you have to really come from the heart. I really think that you do that.
Thank
with
you.
your music. You're welcome.
Well, I can tell you do it with everything you do as well.
I try to be passionate about what I do and whatever we do. This podcast, I feel like it was it was an anointed thing that it needed to be. I wanted a nice, clean environment for people to come in and be able to speak freely, and for anybody that's from 8 years old to 80 years old to be able to listen to it and understand the artists that are sitting in front of us, and it be more about the conversation than it was about the music, which it's always about the music,
Sure.
But at the end of the day, that's why we're here. But at the same time, we're all people, and that we need to people just want to know people.
Yeah, I think this story is special. I love like getting to know artists and getting to know people. I think that's really interesting. So.
It's important. I think it's extremely important. So, I think you inspire a lot of people, and I think that that people can learn from from what you've been through and who you are, and through your music.
Thank you.
And you shared a lot today with the people that will see this, and hopefully that somebody can take this information and get something out of it, and I think they can. And, I just really appreciate you being here today.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah.
I really appreciate it.
Everybody, Ashtyn Barbaree, you got to check her out. You've got to dig into her music and follow her career and support her career. And I know that we will. And we would love to have you back on someday, down the road, and talk about some more of your experiences and she wrote experiences and things, your travels, All right. Well, we appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you so much.
All right. Have a blessed trip going to Nashville.
Thank you.
All right.
Yes.